Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. It is February 2nd and a lot is happening in the garden. Let's talk about some potatoes and let's see about all the transplants and what the garden looks like. First, let's take a look and see how our seed potatoes are doing. And we've got less than 2 weeks and we'll need to put them out. But you can see we've got good sprouting on those. We have our other varieties which are sprouting nicely. So these are definitely ready to go in. Also, our German butterball ones we saved. Now we'll probably end up planting these like we did before, where they were my unconventional planting. I'll probably plant these in pots first. A lot of these are small. Some of them are bigger, but some of them are small, and they're rooting good, so they're ready to go. And also, now I have a few French fingerlings. These are little bitty. They haven't started green sprouting yet. And I have some Yukon Golds that I saved from last year, and they haven't started. This might be a late bunch of potatoes because these were a late crop when we harvested these, but we'll just let those go. Now let's go look at some of the other stuff. We've gotten out here yesterday and broke up the field where we're going to plant our potatoes. You need to get that ground prepared, especially if you're like us, to where mid-February is when you plant your potatoes. Now, I'm sure y'all aren't planting 350 pounds of potatoes, but I'm sure you got some that you're going to put in the ground. And like I say, the important thing is getting your soil prepared ahead of time. This is one of the plots that we do till. It's not no dig like the other, or no till like the other. And whenever we sprout our potatoes, as you saw, we just have them in milk crates. We don't put them in the light. It's not necessary. Potatoes will start green sprouting just fine without having to have light. Now, I have done that in the past, and I don't notice any difference. If you got a good seed potato, it's going to start when it's going to start, and it's going to start growing then. That might encourage some to sprout out quicker. But anyway, this is where that's going. We've broken up our other plot that we till for get it ready for our field peas and such as that. Now we're going to go look at some of the transplants, what they're doing right now. At our indoor grow station, we've planted quite a few seeds the past 3 days. Some of our peppers are Emerald Giant that we was late getting seeds on. They're coming up. And in the back there, I've noticed that the Sun Gold tomatoes are sprouting. And there's looks like 1 or 2 of the Cherokee purples are sprouting. So they're well on their way. Let's go out here in the other one. Our peppers are really doing well, as you can see. And we have some eggplant over there. They're doing well, but these should be a good size by the time the weather warms up enough. Now, I've got the door on the shop out here open so cool air can come in. It's like 51 today, but that air will do them good. It gets them more acclimated. It keeps them to where the temperature won't be a problem when we move. Now let's go see the little ones in the greenhouse. We have a lot of transplants in the greenhouse. Some are ready to go out. This Mitchahili here, it'll most likely go out today. This looks like bok choy. It's big enough it can go out. We'll find a place to put it. We've got red cabbage, dill. Hard to say. I think that could be Mitchahili too. But we've got all our lettuces, and we've got more cilantro started, and we've got some flowers in here too. But they're all doing good. I move them out here as soon as they get germinated up just a little bit, so I make sure that they are germinated. and then move them out here. Even though a lot of them are really small, they do better when they can get acclimated, and plus they get natural sunlight out here. Of course, it does have the shade cloth over the top, which cuts it down some, but things are looking good. And let's start a garden tour. We'll start over at this side here. We've got our logs in here. I know some of y'all see these, some of you might not know what they are, but these are logs that were, I used plug spawn and inoculated them with it, and I've got a video on that. I'm not sure though that this is the proper fungi that's supposed to be in here, the mushrooms. It looks like it may be, I'm guessing maybe turkey tail, but we'll see what comes up. Our parsley's doing good. We've got some musclin mix here, or my gourmet salad mix in here, which is lettuce and other greens. It's doing okay. There are some that's died, but these weren't covered during the freeze. We've got some cilantro here it's doing okay. It's a little slower than that in the other greenhouse. Now we do have our filter kraut cabbages, and they're doing really well. We fertilized these yesterday. Looks like our bok choy's kind of recovering. I don't know how much is going to bolt to seed. It won't matter because, of course, we have chickens that just love bok choy. And down here, we've just planted radishes. And we've just watered in here. We'll take a look up here at our citrus. We don't normally talk too much about it. Now, we do have some blueberries, some new blueberry plants that we've got to get out. These were actually, we got them last year and they were in 1 gallon pots, but we didn't get a chance to get them out. So instead of being they were starting to bud, we moved them up 2 gallon pots, and you can see some of them are actually flowering. It's a little earlier, but they do fine in the greenhouse. Most of these are seed grown citrus. Now these are a couple years old. They're doing really well. Now our lemon over there, and it's got some lemons needs to be harvested, and there's another one here. Maybe one of them's on this one, but these were air layered off of our improved Meyer lemon. But the rest of these right in here, except for a lime that's in there, were all grown by seed, and they're doing really good. Now, this is my grapefruit that was single seed challenge. This was up a little bit taller. I actually did some pruning on it. I want to encourage it to bush more. I don't want it real big and tall. Now, this is the Meyer lemon. It's starting to bloom in here too, and so it'll start setting its fruit pretty soon. And same thing with our orange. It's starting to set blooms. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to air layer a bunch of limbs off this. I had done a few, but I actually give the plants away, but I want more lemon trees, so I'm going to take and air layer some more. Our avocados, we have 3. This one's doing real good. This one's doing pretty good. This one, I think the frost got most of its leaves. We'll see how it does coming back. We have one little rose bush, and then these right here are mangoes. They look rough. Their leaves didn't lock all the sun last year, so that's this is what we got. And then we've got some lemongrass. We decided to put this in pots and keep it in here, so when we put it out here in about a month or so, we won't have to worry about it. It'll have a good start. And these are our rhubarb that we've grown from seed. They're doing pretty good. Mixed in here, we've got a few of our pups off our aloe vera, which were good because our aloe vera, even though it was right up against the house on the south side, it took a hard hit, and I don't know if it's going to recover. We also have some herbs. Now, herbs are important to grow. Now, this is a true Greek oregano, which is, if you're going to grow oregano, try to find true Greek because it has a strong flavor of oregano. It's not like some of the others that aren't very good. We also have a few jasmines that we had taken cutting or dug some roots up from another one that's in there, and a little bit of sage. And then these are our rosemaries, these 3 that we bought last year. Now these 2 are, and the one over here are ones that I planted from seed. But these are our bigger ones. We're going to find a good location for these to where they don't get quite so much sun, because even though a plant says full sun, when you're in East Texas like we are, and when you get up into the hundreds and you've got a long sunny day, it's really rough on some of these plants, stress them and kill them, and I've had a hard time keeping them going. These are some new varieties of, well, I say new variety. It's some new blueberries that we picked up. We've got 9 plants in here, I believe. Well, it might be 10. No, it's 9 plants in there. And we're waiting to put these out because they were trying to bud. And we want to let them go ahead and start early. This is a mid-season variety, but being it's already warmed up, if we'd put these out already, we wouldn't get a crop from them. Our banana trees, the freeze really was rough on them. I don't know if they survived. There's still some green leaves holding up, but they haven't started doing any more growing, so we'll just have to see. What our plans are is we're going to go and build up around these so we can put compost a little higher. These are any other pups that comes off will be separated, because we want to take and put these in a new greenhouse and get them out of here. Now we have planted, yesterday we planted, there's some carrots here. Now we just spread them on the top. We're going to keep them good and moist and grow them that way. Right over here in this bed, we started a new batch of spinach. She's harvesting it out. The last of our old, we'll take this to the market tomorrow, and then we'll replant this with beets in here. And we have a bunch of fig tree that we propagated, and they're all doing well. In the little greenhouse, we have some more cilantro. This was actually planted about the same time as the other, but this is doing a lot better. It's most likely it's because it's getting more light in here. We have some more filter kraut cabbage in here. This is smaller than in the other one, but this one hadn't been getting as much water, but they were fertilized yesterday. Cabbage is a heavy feeder, so we fertilized them, and we've been trying to give them a little more water. Now over here is where we harvested out our celery, and we had thought about planting something else here, but we have so many of these celery that are starting to come back from the roots, and what we're going to do is we're going to leave this. Now we might pop in a few of our new celery plants as they get bigger, but we're going to take and leave these and let them grow into a new plant. Now we've done our beds out here, got them all prepared. Right here where we had our peas and we took them out, we've got a new start of peas. It shouldn't be another day or two. These should pop out the ground and get to going. But that's what I was telling you in the early video. If the thing is, you want to, and we better push that down in the ground just a little bit. But you want to take and do a little planning and realize that there's a lot of that pea there was rooting. So they are getting ready to pop some leaves out. Won't be long. You want to plan these succession plantings where you have something come in behind. Now, a lot of people will say, don't plant the same thing there, do crop rotations. And yes, you can do that, especially if you got poor soil. But when you're amending your soil, this garden here is, the soil is like preparing raised beds where you keep it real fertile. And you keep nutrients in there. We'll use azomite to give some of the trace minerals in here and stuff. So we keep these beds where they're really doing good. Over here, and we didn't cut this plant out, needed to. We have a couple of cauliflower plants that seem to survive the freeze. Now this bed's got a magnetic antenna in it, which I talked about in the earlier video, and that might have affected it, but I'm not going to say it did. We did have a few of our Savoy cabbage that survived, and we've got just a few broccoli here that survived. We've got one Savoy in this row. Now this is the Victory Garden, for those of you that remember, and we're fixing to come back in here, and I'm not sure, I haven't really planned, but we might just do beans in our Victory Garden. But we have a couple more broccolis here. What I'll probably do is cut the head off of this one, being it's got some browning where it did hit freeze. You can tell how the head isn't flat, it's kind of down on this side. That's because of the damage. So we'll probably just cut that head off and let it side shoot. And that head's probably about as big as it's going to get for right now, so we'll probably do the same with it. We have done a little more planting. Now this is our chives. We moved our chives out of the other bed where we talked about earlier that we were going to move them and dedicate that to thyme. So that one, that's going to be the new bed. And this is where we put our ginger. Now, and we took our turmeric that was in the pot that come back volunteer that we missed some, and we had two clumps. They were small roots. We didn't try to harvest them. We just replanted them right here at the end of our ginger so they can go. Now, right here, this is celery. Now it might come back, but we're probably not going to worry about it. We're going to go ahead and take this out. But we left this a little bit. It was small anyway, but we left it to see how it would fin with our cold temperatures, and it didn't fin good at all for itself. And then the same thing, this cilantro right here, it kind of got burned up pretty bad from the freeze. Our catnip was unaffected. We had harvested all this just before then and freeze dried it. Now our lemon balm, you can see it burned it a little bit, or and I have to see which mint this is. This peppermint, it did fine. It didn't care. The weather didn't affect it down to 8 degrees. Now we did put in onions right here, and my grandson's down there. He's planting some more leek. They're really small, but we're going to go ahead and put them out. The onions, some of these got hit harder than others. This is the same thing that happened last year, but this year we decided not to cover them, and I think they fared fairly well. We took our early Jersey cabbage that was in the greenhouse and we moved it out here. Now some of it isn't faring real well. It's doing okay, but we've had like 3 sunny days. This will be the 4th one, so it's got a lot of sun. Normally I don't transplant when it's a lot of sun like that. These onions here, I believe the red onions, they were younger, and I've noticed that younger, well, I don't say they're necessarily younger, they were just in the cell trays longer. But the littler the onions are, it seems they fare better. Now these are red onions over here, and most of them did pretty good. They didn't do as bad as like some of our 1015Ys. The garlic did real good at those temperatures. It does have a few dead leaves down on the bottom, but it did pretty good. But you can see these onions here, how they really got affected, and the same with these ones here, especially those rows. Now, all the other garlic, the other two varieties that are down here, they're doing really well. They're holding in there, and they should make some good garlic. That is the elephant garlic that's over there, one that I prefer. But these onions that died back, and we'll see here in about a month's time on an update, we'll see that a lot of these will come back. They'll come back from the bottom, but normally when they do that, it's like I've said in the past, they come out as doubles or triples. They'll grow back from the root and go ahead and sprout back out. But we've been in here and we've done most of the weeding. Now this row right over here, we had our turnips and mustard. They got froze, and they were really slow growing, didn't look good. It wasn't long, the bugs were going to come in, so we pulled this row up and replanted it. Now our carrots, a lot of them looked pretty rough. Some is doing pretty good, but a lot of it killed them out with the freeze and stuff. So we're going to have to go with what we got. Once we harvest this out, we'll do some more. And of course, our asparagus bed's looking nice. Won't be long, it'll start popping up. Now this was where the chives were in here, if you remember, and we've taken all our other thyme, so we have plenty of thyme. Have to throw that in there. But this whole bed will be thyme now, so it'll be easier for us to harvest and do some up. Now she's been harvesting a few of the turnips that we had thinned them, and they're small turnips, but we figured we'd go ahead and harvest them and bag them for the market, and she's taking out the last of that spinach. Over here, this is our new strawberry bed. These were plants that we had taken out from down by our apple trees. If you remember, we talked about we were going to move them, and the reason why we put them here is because we have this greenhouse right here on the west side of them. So when it gets hot summertime, they're going to get shade fairly early, so they're not going to have a full day of sun. Now, when they say full sun, there's a lot of plants that won't take full sun in our heat, and this is one. But another thing about strawberries that's important, and one reason why they're not down a hill where they did get shade kind of early, is because they didn't get early light. And what we need is, for strawberries, we need that sun to get on them early to dry these leaves off. That way we don't have as many fungal issues. Strawberries are real susceptible to fungus, leaf spot, and if they don't get dried off in the morning early and they stay kind of moist longer, then they're going to be more likely to get that. Now this bed here is, of course, don't look like much right here because we cut the tops off, but this is echinacea, or purple coneflower, that's right in this bare area. Now we allowed, and you can see one of them right here that's still got a few leaves, green leaves, but we allowed these chamomiles. The chamomiles are self-seeding themselves, and we allowed them to take in this area. We were planting like cilantro or something in that little area, but we allowed them to self-seed, and this here I actually seeded from the flower tops in here so we could have a little bit bigger bed of them. So whenever we harvest the flowers for tea, that'll be good. And we've got another purple coneflower right here that was volunteer that come up from seed, and we decided just to leave it. We have all these other rows that are ready to plant. We're going to come in here. We're going to do a lot of cucumbers this year, so we're going to go ahead and come up and put our fence trellises in ahead of time. That way we're not, we're spreading out some of the work, make it to where it's a little easier. Now, we've got most of the weeds. There are a few here and there, and these beds here haven't been weeded. These will probably get a new, well, in fact, for sure they'll get some more compost put on them. These down here was where we had our okra, and it's a pretty heavy feeder, so we'll fix that up. And we've got to move our trellis here that's for our it was for our late cucumbers. Our peppers, we're planning to get in here today and clean these out, get these beds cleaned up, and we'll have that done. This bed here, this was where we had our strawberries, where we took them out, and the rutabagas, we've got the last of them. Now my 2 apple trees that were planted from seed, I'm guessing it's going on 5 years now. They should produce, at least I know that one bloomed last year, so hopefully it'll go this year. I do need to get in here and do my winter pruning. I did a video on the summer pruning, but now what I want to concentrate is getting out some of the inner stuff to open these up a little bit. We've still got to clean up out here. We've been feeding a lot of this mustard and turnips that survived the freeze to the chickens, but we've got to clean up this row. Now the intent is to, I want to do a lot of changing up this year. Before we had a lot better crop of roselle, hibiscus, the calyx is off it, and so we want to take care of that. Now, we never did get this fence row cleaned up good, so we'll probably take care of that too, as far as, and we might actually burn this off like we did the one at the top of the garden. But I'm planning to put my roselle in these 2 rows. The first year I grew it in this row, and it did so much better because it got evening shade kind of early, and it didn't get morning sun as much because the greenhouse blocked it. And roselle is day length sensitive, so what it did was actually it made it bloom about a month earlier. So I'm going to move it back here, and I'm going to put 2 rows of it in, so hopefully I'll get enough and I won't have that problem for a while. But we do have a lot of chickweed, which is a common thing we need to get out. We've got some blueberry plants that we're going to have to replace that were dead. That was the 3 I had, and then I've got my new one. So I'm going to have to decide where I want to put those in the garden. We did change out this blueberry plant. This is a new variety. It's called a Titan, which is usually a really good grower. Now this one it's been out in the weather, but it's starting to bud out, and it's a mid-season, but it puts on blueberries the size of a quarter, so we'll see how that goes. Our red cabbage is coming along. The red cabbage really fares colder weather than the green varieties that I plant, so next winter that's going to be a factor. And that's one of the things you learn about gardening is to watch the varieties that you plant and see. And I like most of the open pollinators better. Slow growing cabbage like this is it's really tasty too. But we've got most of our early Jersey that we had up here is harvested. There's a few more heads, and we might see if we've got one to go to the market this week. Now, these beds haven't had anything done. They're going to need to be reconditioned with compost, but definitely they're going to have to be weeded out too. And as we come up here, and of course we've got our garlic, this volunteer that's in there. It's still coming along. Our collards took the cold weather good. There's still a few leaves that might need to come off, like this one here. But all in all, it did really good. So hopefully we can continue with this. We'll just take the rest of the bad leaves off, give it to the chickens, and go from there. But anyway, that's where we're sitting at right now, February 2nd. And everything's looking great. It's that time of the year where you can get out and you start seeing a lot of things happen, makes you feel good. There is still, they're talking in a couple of weeks, maybe another Arctic blast coming down here. We'll see how that goes. Right now, the days have been in up to 70 or above. Nights have been in the upper 40s and lower 50s, which is great. I don't have to open and close the greenhouse all the time. I can just leave it open and getting ready for some food to start growing. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tour for the 1st of February. And of course, if you want to see more content like this, just hit that subscribe, hit the bell, select all, give her a big thumbs up, and share this video. Enjoy that gardening experience.